The jungle canopy shivered, not with the wind, but with a new, unseen energy. Below, on the damp, moss-covered floor, something incredible was happening. Our little frog, once just another creature of the undergrowth, was changing. Its skin, once smooth and slick, now pulsed with a strange, verdant light. From its powerful limbs, tiny green shoots began to unfurl, coiling and strengthening with every passing second. These weren't just decorations, they were living, breathing vines, an extension of the frog's own will. It crouched, testing its newfound appendages. The vines seemed to hum with latent power, tethered to the very life force of the jungle. With an experimental push, the frog launched itself into the air. The leap was different now. The vines whipped out, not randomly, but with purpose, catching onto a low-hanging branch. For a split second, the frog hung suspended, a pendulum of green and gold. Then, with a flex of its muscles, the vines contracted, catapulting it forward with astonishing speed and precision. It was no longer just jumping, it was swinging, dancing through the dense foliage with a grace it had never known. It landed silently on a giant leaf, its wide eyes surveying its transformed domain. The world had opened up. Distances that were once formidable barriers were now just a single, exhilarating swing away. This was more than just movement, it was a new language of survival, and the frog was becoming fluent. But evolution is a relentless arms race, and in this supercharged ecosystem, every advantage is met with a terrifying counter. High above, circling in the humid air, the heron was also undergoing a grotesque transformation. Its elegant, spear-like beak began to warp and thicken. The bone grew at an alarming rate, twisting into oversized, serrated fangs that jutted out at cruel angles. Its once graceful neck muscles bulged, adapting to support the immense weight of its new bony arsenal. This was no longer a patient fisher, it was a predator redesigned for sheer, brutal power, an airborne terror built for a single, devastating strike. Its cry, once a simple squawk, now echoed through the trees as a guttural, bone-chilling shriek. It had spotted movement below a flash of green and gold. The hunt was on. The heron folded its massive wings and plummeted from the sky like a living javelin. The air whistled around its bone fangs as it aimed for the small frog on the leaf. But the frog was no longer a simple target. Its senses, heightened by its transformation, screamed a warning. As the shadow of the heron engulfed it, the frog leapt. But this was a calculated, desperate jump into open air, away from the safety of the leaves. For a terrifying moment, it was completely vulnerable, a tiny morsel in the vast, empty space between the canopy and the ground. The heron adjusted its dive with predatory instinct, its fanged beak snapping shut just inches from the frog's back, the sound echoing like a breaking branch. The frog was falling, but it wasn't helpless. As gravity pulled it down, it acted on pure instinct. The vines on its limbs shot out like grappling hooks, searching for an anchor. One latched onto a thick, gnarled root protruding from a cliffside. The vine went taut, snapping the frog's descent to a sudden, jarring halt. It swung wildly, dangling precariously over the chasm below. The heron, overshooting its target, let out a frustrated screech and began to climb again, circling for another attack. The frog hung on, its small body a pendulum of defiance against the colossal hunter. The first clash was over, but the battle had just begun. The jungle held its breath, watching the impossible duel unfold. The heron was relentless, it swooped again, this time from a different angle, trying to cut off the frog's escape routes. It was a terrifying dance of predator and prey. The frog would swing, the heron would dive. The frog would use its vines to change direction mid-air. The heron would counter with a flap of its powerful wings. The air was filled with the snap of the vines and the horrifying clack of the heron's bone fangs missing their mark by a hair's breadth. The frog was using the environment to its advantage, swinging between trees, under ledges, and through thorny bushes where the larger bird couldn't easily follow. It was a high-stakes game of agility versus raw power. Forcing the heron into the densest part of the undergrowth was a risky gambit, but it was the frog's only chance. The massive bird, enraged and desperate, crashed through the foliage, its size becoming a liability. It tore through leaves and snapped small branches, but its movements were becoming clumsy, predictable. The frog, small and nimble, darted through the chaos. Seeing its opportunity, it swung low, right into the path of the charging heron. The bird, blinded by its own destructive momentum, couldn't stop. It dove straight for the frog, its fang maw wide open. At the last possible second, the frog released its vine. It dropped to the ground as the heron, committed to its attack, slammed headfirst into the ancient, rock-hard trunk of an ironwood tree. The impact was cataclysmic. There was a sound like shattering stone as the heron's mutated bone fangs, the source of its terrifying power, exploded into a shower of sharp, white fragments. The great bird crumpled, its massive body falling limp to the forest floor, its reign of terror ending as abruptly as it began. Silence descended upon the clearing, broken only by the soft drip of water from the leaves above. The frog, panting from exhaustion, cautiously approached the fallen giant. The air still vibrated with the energy of their conflict. As it drew near, a strange force began to pull at the shattered pieces of the heron's fangs. The bone fragments lifted from the dirt, glowing with a faint, ethereal light. They swirled in the air like a ghostly vortex, drawn towards the victorious frog. It stood its ground, mesmerized and perhaps a little fearful, as the vortex of bone shards spun faster and faster, converging on its small body. The shards didn't pierce its skin. Instead, they seemed to melt, flowing like liquid ivory over its jawline. The frog felt a searing, transformative energy as the bone material fused with its own anatomy. The process was swift, reshaping its face. Its jaw hardened and extended, forming a sharp, bony ridge, a permanent war mask forged from the weapon of its defeated enemy. When the light faded, the frog was changed once more. It was still a frog, but now it bore the mark of its victory, a testament to its incredible resilience. It opened its new, reinforced jaw and let out a croak that was deeper, stronger, and resonated with the power of the jungle itself. It was a new sound, the call of a survivor, a warrior, a king. The little frog had not just survived. It had absorbed the power of its foe and evolved again, ready for whatever this strange new world would throw at it next. Thank you for watching this epic tale of evolution. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to follow the next chapter of this incredible journey.